That's very strange. dez.kkfscs.com, and it's not working. No, it's dez.kkfs. Z as in zebra. .kk. No, dez.kkfscs.com. Oh, really? That's here, I'll send you another link. That's autocorrect from the autocorrect. Yep. It should take you to a page, and then it'll say like watch live. Hello. Hello. So, did it take you to the Google event page? Like, yeah, holding a phone. Did you push play? No, push. Yes, please. Push play. So it's playing backwards, like it's a few minutes behind. I can hear my own voice. Jeez. Yes, please. Scratching my nose. Push play. Okay, I'm gonna hang up now, and well, no, I won't hang up now. So this is a weird delay that's happening from. It's a few minutes behind. It's playing backwards. It's playing backwards. Okay, so we're only a few minutes behind now. If you, I can hear my own voice. Jeez. Yes, please. Scratching my nose. Okay, how many fingers am I holding up? Okay, I'm gonna. Okay, so you're about. We're about a 30-second delay. Weird delay that's happening from. It's a few minutes. So I'm gonna. Let's see. Okay, so we're only a few minutes. This is gonna be really weird. I'm gonna have no. I have no concept of who's talking to. It's like a one-way conversation with myself through a mirror. Okay, how many fingers am I holding up? Okay, so that is a few minutes behind. Okay. Whatever you're chatting on. We're about a 30-second delay. Whatever you're chatting on, is there any way to add sorry, whatever you're viewing, is there any way to add a chat? So we can, just like chatting, so we can talk, so we can have a chat on the side. No, I have no concept of who's talking to. It's like a one-way conversation with myself through a mirror. Okay, so that is a few minutes behind. Okay. For all of you that are waiting, you can look at the videos behind me. Whatever you're chatting on, is there any way to add sorry, whatever you're viewing? Nothing, eh? To add a chat. So it's just like chatting. Yeah, it's just a live YouTube video.
Well, I think it's called the financial hospital to go to. And then people could
For all of you that are waiting, you can look at the videos behind. Yeah, do it. Chat through that. Nah, it's not gonna happen. All right. I'm just gonna start to teach, and I don't know. Deal with it, I guess. Okay. Yeah, it's just a live YouTube video. I'll give you guys time to think and stuff like that. I'll give you countdowns, and I'll say you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes. All right. Thanks for doing this. Peace. Peace, Abdu. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me set up my computer so I don't have, there we go, so I don't hear myself talk. Okay, so first off, my daughter's sick today with the flu. She had a really high temperature last night of over 40 degrees, so we had to rush her to the hospital, all that stuff. She's fine now. Not perfect, but she was supposed to go on a field trip today, and she's a little under the weather and blah, blah, blah. So she's sick. I'm at home taking care of her. So thanks for understanding with that. This isn't the most ideal situation for teaching, but hey, such is life. Learning experience for me as well as for you. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, so it's mistakes are going to happen. It's going to be a little difficult to start up, but hey, we're on our way, and we're getting there. So be patient if something happens, if it crashes, or if you're just not getting it. This is just part of the experiment of life. Welcome. So thanks for understanding for that. We'll try to make this as easy as possible. What we'll do today is, while I'm talking actually, log into your accounts and log into your App Inventor account. Okay, so turn on your computer if you haven't done that yet. Log into your App Inventor site, and we will, while I talk, you can just, get that started in the background. So overall, what we're going to do today is we're going to start with some review of if-then decisions. We haven't talked about that enough yet, I felt, so we're going to talk about that a bit just to remind you how it works. Then we're going to go into that lovely subject of abstraction again. I'll pause for the moans. Again? Yeah, again. I know. But as I've said before, this is, remember at the beginning of this school year when I said I'm going to introduce concepts to you at the beginning, and they're going to be frustrating at the beginning, and you're not going to quite get them, but we're going to keep hitting at these concepts until the end of the year. So by the end of the year, your goal is to be able to have this down packed and be firm with this. So at the beginning, it may be a little hazy. It might be like, I'm not quite there, I don't get it, but that's part of the process, that's part of the plan, part of the evil genius plan. It'll get you there. I'll get you there towards the end. Don't worry. So we're going to hit abstraction again today. We're going to talk about it, find some examples, and we are finally going to get back to actually programming with App Inventor. We're still going to be using the PaintPot program, and this time what we're going to be doing is adding some more options or features to the program that allow it to be more abstract and general. Ooh, there's that word again. And once we do that, then we will start to go into a little bit of debugging of how to solve problems that come up from your program where you're just like, this is working, but something else is happening that I wasn't quite prepared for yet, and how do I deal with that? Problem solving on the fly, as it were. And also part of this, we will, part of this whole lesson today is you will be introduced to the concept of variables in computer science. Okay, so we're going to review if-then decisions, talk a little bit about abstraction and variables. We're going to work with App Inventor again, finally, after this week of reviewing abstraction, which you should all know now in your head. That's why I made you do that work over the last 2 days last week, to force you to write and think something about abstraction in your program. And after that, that should take us to the end of class. If we finish early, that's awesome and amazing. And all you'll have to do is hold your breath until the lunch bell rings, and then you can wake up and win. Okay? So first off, I want you, or we're going to review this concept of if-then decisions. It's a hugely important concept of computer science. It's one of the most fundamental building blocks of all programs, is this idea of if something happens, try to get my hands in there. If something happens, there is a result, okay? We've talked about a few examples, real world examples in class. If it's raining, get umbrella. If it's snowing, wear, snowshoes. If I'm hungry, eat. So this whole idea of cause and effect, if something is true over here, it's going to lead to a direct result of something happening over here. Okay, this is, for us as humans, we call it a decision. If this is true, do this. In computers, of course, they don't decide anything. We as programmers have to decide what that decision or what that event will happen when something becomes true. So, oh, my cat just meowed. Sorry, just letting the cat out. Such is life. All right. So I'm going to switch over to App Inventor here. Let's see. I'll zoom in to the code here a bit. Okay. So remember, we have these if-then blocks in our code, and basically this is how the computer is doing. If this is true, if whatever we put inside this block here, if this is true, then I'm going to do this code down here. Okay? So if I push the button, do this. If you think back to our, actually I'll switch over to I Have a Dream, the app we made, the first app we made together. If I switch over to the blocks here, we have this idea. If MLK player is playing, then tell MLK player to pause. Otherwise, do this. Okay? So as the user sees this, the user doesn't see any of this. They just, they click on the button and it starts to play, or they click on the button and it pauses. Okay? But you, the programmer, you have to decide if something up here, this first block, if this first block is true, then do this code down below. If this is not true, okay, this is really important to understand. If this first block here that I'm moving around is not true, then we're not going to do this. We're going to go down and we're going to do whatever else we plan to do. So if this is not true, okay, this will never happen. So if this comparison here is never true, then this block here inside the then never happens. If we have an else, then it will go down and do the else. If we don't have anything in the else, this block will never execute if this is never true. Okay? This shouldn't be too difficult for you to grasp because this is not new, and this is what we discussed when we were working with our program before with MLK Player. Okay? So we've always got this idea in programming that decisions are being made. I hope I was broadcasting that. I think I might have forgotten to broadcast that. Oh well, such is life. Learning experience. Okay. I'm going to go back to me. So this is one of those fundamental ideas that if an event happens, the computer will respond to that event. If this event never happens, this event over here will never be triggered. It will never happen. The computer will sit there and look like it's doing nothing, but it's not. It's actually just waiting for the next event to happen. If this event is true, do this, okay? It'll be a hint for today's lesson where I ask you to solve the problem on your own, think about using an if decision structure to help solve your problem. Okay, I hope this is continuing to broadcast. I am, yeah, it's not that far. Yeah, it's not that far away. I'm watching myself watch myself, which is weird. I guess you could say that's an example of a abstraction or something. Anyways, okay, let me get back on track here. Sorry. And I'll apologize for my cat walking around meowing. And yeah, this is where the cat lives, in the computer room with me. So she's gonna meow. Such is life. Okay. So what I would like you to do now is I want you to think of, really simply, I want you to think of three examples of if-then decisions that you have done today. Okay, so 3 examples today of decisions you made, and try to break them down into an if-then decision structure. So for example, before I went to bed last night, I said, okay, if I wake up and Nina still has a temperature, I'm not going to work. I'm going to look after her today, and then I'll figure out how to teach the class. Okay, so obviously that event has come true. I woke up, checked her temperature. That went down to the if it's true, then I emailed work and said, sorry, Mina's sick. I'm not coming into work today. Sorry. Okay, we'll do the lesson over, what is this, Google Hangouts. Okay, so that's one example. If something happens, then do this. It's pretty simple. Shouldn't take too long. I am going to give you 30 seconds to think of 3. Okay, 3 examples of what you've done today that are if-then. Try not to be too simple and babyish about it. Okay, don't forget Mr. Edwards walking around. He's there, wherever you are. You're back there. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think of 3 examples. When those 30 seconds are up, I'll tell you when those 30 seconds are up, and then B's, you're going to turn to your elbow partner, and B's, you're going to give your 3 examples, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to explain and talk about those 3 examples. Once that 30 seconds is up, bang, we'll switch over. A's, it's your turn. Remember, you got to talk for that whole 30 seconds. If you're finished in 10 seconds, you haven't been given enough detail in your example yet. Okay? So the 30 seconds thinking about your 3 examples begins now. 30 seconds.
You know about all computers?
I do.
Wow, when you get older, when I buy a computer, can you teach me how to do computers?
Yeah, I'll teach you how to use computers. Daughter was stopping me. Sorry. All right, that's your 30 seconds. Bees, start a talky talk. All right, switch. 30 seconds is up. What's going on out there? All right, time is up. Up is the time. All right, I want you to look at your elbow partner. Okay, I want you to look at them and say, those were the most brilliant ideas ever, and give them a high five. Go ahead. Those were the most ideal. Yeah. All right. So normally at this point, I would ask you for some of those ideas, but I'm sure they were all brilliant. Okay. So the main idea here was to get you guys thinking about if, then, some kind of result. Okay. So, and the idea of the computer processing that as well, of if this happens, then it goes down to the next line of code and says, if this happens, then do this. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Okay, so that quick review is done. We've got to move on to our next concept. Once again, the idea of abstraction. Okay? So, oh my goodness, yes, abstraction, that evil word which I'm sure you all love so much now. Okay, so abstraction. Remember, abstraction can be described in one word. Kristen, what is that one word? Yeah, Kristen, you. Starts with an S, simplification. Okay, she got it. All of you should have this right now. Okay, so the idea of simplification of your code. Sorry, hold on. My daughter is interrupting. Yes, thank you. Please close the door. Thank you. Watch TV. Sorry. Shh. The cat got out. Okay, so back to the example. Abstraction. It's the concept of simplifying your idea. You're taking out the information, removing the information that is not important for this moment, and keeping the information that is important for this moment. Okay? I know it's hard to get this idea stuck in your head. It's new for a lot of you, even for myself when I first did it. It's, takes time to get your head around it, and it's an essential question, so your answer to this question will always change and grow. Okay? So if I'm going to switch over to my App Inventor here, okay, this time I will remember to share it with everyone. Okay, so hopefully you should be seeing this now. Okay? Yeah, you can see what we're going to be doing today. Okay, but let's think about abstraction with this. Really simple example is our red, blue, green, and yellow buttons that we have, right? Where we click on the button and we can draw on our app, okay? Do I care about how the computer is doing this? No, I just care that I click on red, I get red. I click on blue, I get blue. Green, green, yellow, yellow. Yay! And down here I can click wipe and I clear my program. As a user, the user doesn't need to know what happens in the background of my program. The user just needs to know, I click on this, this works, okay? I can draw my lasers coming out of the cat's eyes, wonderful, great, okay? That's all they care about, playing with the cat picture, okay? But you as the programmer, you have to think about that background work, okay? So for the user, they've abstracted all the information that they don't need to know out of it. They just need to know push button, click. You as the programmer, you also have to understand how the user is experiencing that situation. That's part of app design, is you have to think about the user's interaction with your program. That's why user interface is so important for design and to be thinking about as a programmer. So you as the programmer have to think about, what's the user going to experience? The user is going to experience clicking on red, drawing a line. Okay, so you've abstracted as a programmer, you know how that's done in the background, but you've abstracted that information out because right now you're just thinking about click a button and draw on the canvas. Okay, then when it comes time for you to program, you're thinking, okay, the user is going from red, they need to click on a button. Okay, so I need to add in a button. Okay, so already you've added a little more detail. You've gone from, they just click on something, to now you're thinking of the actual component we've got to add. They've got to add a button. We've added more detail. Okay? What's going to happen when they click on that button? Well, you go into your blocks and you start thinking, well, that's a red button, so I'm going to have when red button click event handler. Okay? So you add in your when the red button is clicked event. Okay? So now we've abstracted down even into more detail. Okay? So we used to be thinking at a higher level where we're thinking just button, draw. Now we're thinking I click on that button, it creates an event. Inside that event, I have to add some information that says change the canvas paint color to red. Okay, so I've got a lot more detail now in my program. So I've abstracted out information from the highest level, and as I move down to my levels, as I move through my different problems in the process, I've thought about the extra details that have to be added. And if I suddenly have to think about the user's experience again, and I'm thinking about the design side of my app, I'm thinking more abstractly. I'm not thinking about the little tiny details going on inside. I'm just thinking about the general idea of clicking on a button, getting a result. Okay? That's what we're thinking about here. So when we're programming with abstraction, it's a hugely important concept. It's up there with your if-then decision structures. You can actually take entire classes in university just on the concept of abstraction. It's all theory-based, okay? And if any of you are into that idea of problem solving, how to solve word problems, just like a challenge and how to solve it, abstractions for your thing. But it's hard for all of us. It's the idea of taking a problem, red button, drawing on canvas. That's my problem. How do I do it? You got to break it down into all the little tiny details and then attack each little detail one at a time. And then once you've attacked them all at one at a time, you can put it all together and get your app. So you've got your problem up here, you're abstracting it down into its little tiny parts, and then you can attack each little tiny part and then get it all to work together to solve that original problem. Okay, so that's the basic idea in programming for abstraction in a really general sense. Okay, it can be much more complicated than that, and that we don't need to care about that. Okay, so what I would like you to do right now is you wrote about this on your blog last time, or not your blog, your review of your app from last class. I want you now to rethink that one of those examples that you gave. And same thing you just did, I want you to share that idea with your elbow partner. Okay, by this point, you should have App Inventor open. You should not be playing with it and adding things in there. Okay, you should just be following along. But I want you to look at your code, remind yourself of at least one more abstraction that happens in your code, and then I want you to share it with your elbow partner. Okay, this time A's are going to go first. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think, A, explain, and then B. 30 seconds of think time of your example of abstraction begins now. Okay, I've actually given you more time. So A's, it's your turn to start. Give your example to B of abstraction. I'm going to give you guys a total of 2 minutes to explain. So that's 2 minutes for both of you, not 2 minutes, 2 minutes, a total 2 minutes. So once you're finished, B, your turn to go, okay? So your 2 minutes begin now. more times. So A's, it's your turn to start. Give your example to B of abstraction. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes. Okay, if you haven't switched yet, switch on over. Good example. Good idea. All right, finish up. Time is up. Up is the time. All right. Give your partner a wonderful praise. This is my favorite one of all time. Made this one up myself. Look at your elbow partner. Give them a high five. And while you give them a high five, I want you to say these words. Your brilliance is melting my face off. Okay? Your brilliance is melting my face off. Do it. I know. It's fun. It's great. Okay. So, are you ready to do some programming in App Inventor? Are you? Are you? At this point right now, sorry, we would review abstraction again, and we go into the detail and pick apart some of your problems that you're having with it. We'll do that tomorrow. Okay. Don't worry. We'll get it. Don't worry. Okay. So, what I would like all of you to do right now, and I'm going to switch over once again into the App Inventor, my App Inventor screen. We're dealing with the, what are we doing? The Paint Pot. Okay, so you should be seeing the Paint Pot on the screen now. Bang. Okay, so what we're going to be doing for our App Inventor today is we're going to be adding this section here where we are adding some more, how can we say, usability to our program. Instead of us determining what the dot size is of the canvas, right? So when the user is clicking on the dots or clicking on the screen, instead of having the user just click on it, we're going to add this feature so that the user can change the dot size. If they want a really big dot, they can click on the plus button to get a big dot. If they want a smaller dot, they can reduce the size of the dot by clicking the minus button. And in the middle here, we are going to have some text that will display the actual current dot size, so the user knows what we're dealing with. So this is a perfect example of abstraction. Perfect example of adding usability to our program. Rather than having one fixed dot size, now we're going to have it so that the user determines the dot size. Makes the app much more functional, much more enjoyable, cooler. Okay, so all around. So I'm going to give you a few moments here to look at this interface. See if I can zoom in a bit. There we go. That might be a little better. Okay, look at this user interface and see the parts that we need to add into this, and then build it on your own. Okay, I'm going to give you, I'll give you a minute. No, I'll give you 2 minutes. I'll be nice. I'll give you 2 minutes. Start now as I'm talking. I want you to add in the parts that you see there to add these 3 buttons, or sorry, these 2 buttons and label that are underneath the canvas and above the camera. So add those components in now. Don't forget to change the appropriate properties of each component that you're adding. I'll go over it in a second and show you what you should have done. Okay, but don't forget to change the properties of these components so that they're updated correctly. So I'll give you another 2 minutes from now. Don't forget, help your partner out if you need some help. While I'm doing this, if any of you have problems as usual with your AI starter or your emulator, the easiest thing is to usually restart, turn it off, restart it. If it's still not working, restart the computer, try to get it to run again. They updated it recently, so you may have problems because you haven't updated your emulator. They updated it last week, as most of us noticed. So those could be problems. But don't worry about it too much. If your code is the same as our code that it is happening today, it should still work, and we'll fix it tomorrow. Whose computer do I want to remind? Songha, yeah, I'm talking to you. Your computer, if it freezes, just have to push the reset button. There's been problems with your computer for the last 2 days. So the small silver button on the top, once your mouse decides to stop working, we're going to have to reset it. I'm in the process of trying to figure out what's wrong with your computer. Sorry. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete all of that. And then I'm simply going to show you how you should have done it. So first step was to go to a horizontal arrangement and add that right above your camera button and below your canvas. Don't worry if as soon as you do that, the camera button and all that below it disappears and you're like, I can't see it anymore. Don't worry. Once we start adding the buttons inside, it gets much smaller and you're able to see stuff again. Okay, so we've got a horizontal arrangement. Inside of the horizontal arrangement, you have to add 2 buttons and a label. So we're going to add 1 button. Okay, notice right away, as soon as I added in the text for button 1, camera popped back up. Next to the next to the button 1, we're going to add a label, and then next to the label, we're going to add button. Okay. Of course, we need to rename these, and remember our quiz trade question. Why must we rename our components? 1, because it tells us what they do, and 2, it tells us what they do, and 3, it tells us what they do. All right, so we're going to rename our first button. That's going to be the button for minusing. So you could have named it something along of just button minus. Okay, and then I'm going to rename the other button to button plus. All right. The label the label we're going to rename, it's going to be displaying the dot size. So I'm going to call mine dot size label. You named yours something different, as long as you can see that the name clearly shows what is going to happen with that component. Okay, so with the minus button, and sorry, with the horizontal arrangement, there is a property you should have changed with the horizontal arrangement. You should have gone to width and changed it to fill parent. Okay, and you should have done that for all the other components. So button minus, you should change button minus width to fill parent. You should have the text, or sorry, the label, change its width to fill parent. And the second button's width to fill parent. Okay, and remember, this deals again with abstraction, so that we don't really care what size. Ooh, connection fail. See, happens to me too. Okay, we don't really care what happens to, not what happens, what size of screen the user is using for their app, because they might be on a small phone or they might be on a huge tablet. All we care about is that our buttons will now fill up that screen. No matter the size of the screen, it's going to go all the way across, whether it's a big screen, small screen. We don't care about the exact size. We only care about generalities in computer programming. The more general, the better. So we don't care about the actual size of the buttons. We just say fill up the screen. Okay, so that's another example of abstraction. We've taken out the specific size of the button, and we're only caring about the general idea of fill the screen. Okay. Inside the text for each of these buttons. So button 1, it should just simply have, instead of saying text for button 1, it should just simply be a minus sign. The button for the plus symbol should simply be a plus symbol. Okay, shift plus. And inside the text for our label, we're just going to have, this is the text we're going to show up. So this is when the app first loads. We're gonna have it say dot size equals 5, because remember 5 is the original radius of the circle that we started with. So that's like the default size. And I don't like the way this is left centered or left aligned, because everything in our app so far is center aligned, and this doesn't match that it's left aligned. So we're going to change the alignment of that text property. Okay, find your font alignment, text alignment, and change it to center. It's a little better. Okay, and I have found that the number's being a little too small, so I'm going to change my dot size or the font size to 18. Yay. Okay, you don't really have to do that. I just did that because I like it. Okay, so there we have it. We have our horizontal arrangement, button minus, dot size, and button size. Okay, how much time we got? Ooh, you've got 40 minutes, no, 50 minutes until lunchtime. You hungry yet? All right, getting there. Okay, so we've got this idea of we're going to have these buttons. Great. Now it's time to program it. Okay, so now we got to go deeper into abstraction. So you've got these ideas, you've got the easy part done. Now's the hard part. We've got to set up something so that when the user clicks on the button, the dot size gets either bigger or smaller. Right now, if you look on your When Canvas Touched event handler, zoom in on that sucker. On this event handler, right now, all you have is a set number of 5. So it doesn't matter what we do with our programming, it's always going to be 5 according to this rule right here. Radius equals 5. We got to change this. We got to change it to be more global in scale, more open, more, shall we say, abstract. How do we do that? One word, starts with a V. I mentioned it briefly at the beginning of this lesson, and it is the wonderful word from your math class, variable. Yes. It is true when your math teacher says you're going to use math for the rest of your life. Okay, you are. And yes, variables don't disappear after you finish your algebra class. Okay, so we're going to be playing with variables. Okay, if you notice in your blocks palette, there is a built-in type called variable, okay? I want you to grab that first block and just drag it out. So initialize global name to something. Now, name we're going to change because name doesn't mean anything to us. We have to give our variables just like we give our components logical names. We have to give variables logical names, and we have to do that so that when other people, namely your teacher who's grading it, other people who look at your program can see that name of that variable, and just by looking at the variable, figure out what it's for. Okay, so we're going to change this name to be simply dot size. And you should spell it correctly, not like I did. Dot zij. Zij speaking the Dutch. Dot z. Sorry. Dot size. Okay. Don't worry, I'm going to explain how this works after we create it. So we're going to be creating a variable called dot size. And that dot size, we're going to set its value to what? I do not know. Okay? We're going to set it to a value. What is our value that our dot size always starts with? 5, right? When our computer program starts, if you go back to our design view, you'll see that our dot size is 5. So we will set up our program to be starting at dot size 5. Okay, so now we've got this global variable called dot size, and its value is set to 5. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to have it so that the user is going to click on, let's do the plus button first because that's easier. We're going to have it so that when the user clicks on this plus button, that dot size is going to go up. And it's going to go up by 1. So that means, thinking it through, clicking on plus, 5 should now become, what's the one number after 5? 6. Brilliant. You're awesome. Okay? So we've got to set it up so that we have this number here, 5. After the user clicks the button, 5 is going to change to 6. Okay? And I'm going to give you a few minutes now. Play with your partner. Okay? Practice with your partner. Talk to your partner. Try to figure out to make an event. There's a hint. Make an event that when the user clicks on the plus symbol, the variable's value will change. And it's going to go up by 1. Okay? So we're making an event. Back on the screen now. Hi. We're going to make an event. When the user clicks on the button, plus, that variable dot size is going to go up by, not 11, sorry, 1. It's going to go up by 1. Okay? I'll give you 3 to 4 minutes to figure that out. Try it. Talk to your partner. What did you do? What did you? I don't know. Figure it out. Okay? If you get it really banged down quickly, add the minus button in there because you got to do that one too. And I'll come back in 4 minutes and show you the solution. 4 minutes. While you're doing that, I'm going to go check if my daughter's still alive. Nina, you still alive? Yeah? Okay, what you doing? You're drawing? Oh, you're drawing your school bus. Nice. In a few minutes, well, not a few minutes, half an hour, we'll come out and we'll have some lunch, okay? No, you're not hungry? Eat the cat? You want to go to the park? You're sick. You can't go outside in the park. Because you're sick. The whole idea is you staying home so you get better. Think about what you want to do for lunch inside the house, okay?
Daddy, I thought it was all
No, okay, I won't bother you. Keep drawing. You're making an event of when something is clicked. The event will trigger the dot size to change, and it will cause the dot size to go up by 1. Adding 1. Think of math class. I'm phoning. Is it working? They're following? Heat. The heat shouldn't be on. You want the... Oh, the aircon? If you look next to my desk on the wall, there's that red box sticking up. The aircon, the controller should be sitting on the side there inside a little panel or a little holder. It's a white little controller. Yep. Yep. Aim and shoot. Any questions? It's funny to hear my voice. All right, I'm gonna hang up now. Schools of the future. Hey man, who knows? Your kids could be going to school like this. There'll be no more schools. Everyone will just be at home on their computers typing away. Whoa, bad idea. Okay, so solution to this problem. It's actually quite simple, but everything in computers is always quite simple once you see how it's done. Okay, so I mentioned a few times it's an event. What button are we doing the event with? The plus button. Okay, so we've got when the plus button is clicked. Okay, that's what we're going to have. What are we going to have inside the plus button? Okay, we're going to have the variable go up by 1. So we go over to variable blocks, and we have these. There's not too many blocks with variables. We've got 1 for creating a variable, 1 for getting a value from a variable, and 1 to setting a variable value. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to use what's called a setter block. You're going to drag out set. What are we setting? We're setting a variable, okay? And from our drop-down list, we can see that we have global variable dot size. If we had other variables, right? So if we had more than 1 variable, which you can have as many as you want, you would see a list of them from that drop-down. I forgot to screen capture, or screencast. Sorry, hold on. Okay, my mistake-itude. Okay, we're going to, yeah, so as I was saying, from this drop-down list, you would see the list of all the available, what are those things? Variables, okay? Right now we've only got 1, so you only see 1. Okay, so when the button plus is clicked, we're going to set the global dot size to a new value. And as I mentioned, something from math class, so you find the built-in math buttons, and which one of these options here allow you to add? The one that has the 2 options for adding here. Okay, so you're going to grab that out. What are we adding? We're adding dot size, what it is now, plus 1 more value. Okay, let's do the easy one first. What's that 1 value? We're going to grab another math block and put in 1. Okay, so it's adding dot size plus 1. Okay, so what is dot size? We have to get the value of dot size. So you have to go back to your variables, stick get inside global dot size. So this says now, let's explain this event handler. When the plus button is clicked, do this. Okay, set the global dot size. So that's a variable. That's the variable from up here that we just created. Set the global dot size. I'm going to try to zoom in here. Is that better? Okay, we're going to set the global dot size to 5. Once this button is clicked, it's going to go and do something. It's going to set, which means set the value of global dot size to the current number of dot size plus 1 more. Okay, so that means every time we click on it, it's going to add 1 to the dot size. Okay, and of course we need to test this, and as you saw a few minutes ago, my emulator shut down, so who knows if this is going to work. Okay, so you guys should be testing this already on your emulators. Hopefully mine will not crash or crash my system, which happened this morning when I was testing this out, but you know, faith. Okay, so every time that plus button is clicked, that number should be going up and up and up and up. What issues come up with that? Well, of course, you should have already figured out that, well, is there a limit? Is this thing just going to eventually cover my whole screen? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is. So eventually, if they hit plus, 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 eventually they're going to get a button, or sorry, a dot size that is so big that all they have to do is click the canvas once, and it covers the whole canvas. Okay? That's a bug that we have to fix, I should say. Looks like my emulator is starting off fine here. Okay, 9, 8, 7, 6, 3. All right, hurry up. Okay, verify that companion is started. Oh man, it's frustrating for me too. Don't worry. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. I got a white screen today. Hey. Eventually that will come back. It always does. All right, so we've also got to do this for the minus button. And since we already figured out how to do this for the plus button, it's a simple idea of right-clicking our code, duplicating it, and updating it so that we have, instead of plus button, change it to minus button. But this code now says when the minus button is clicked, add 1. I don't want to add 1. I want to minus 1. So I'm still going to keep my dot and my dot size, get the dot size plus the 1. But it's not plus, it's minus. So I'm going to go back to math, and this time I'm going to grab out or drag out the minus and just add those in there. Let's see if this is turned on yet. Yes, it has. Okay, so I'm going to choose blue here. I'm going to click on my buttons, and I'm going to hit plus, 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 and it's not changing, of course. Okay, and I'm going to click my minus, minus, minus. Is that working? That's not working. Let's try this. Wipe that. And it's not working. Oh my goodness, why isn't it working? There's one thing left you have to do. Yes, no, I didn't make a mistake. I knew it. Don't laugh at me. Okay? You actually have not told the canvas to change it, right? The canvas is still changed at, they're set, the radius is still set at 5, okay? You've done all this great code up here to change the dot size, and that's great. But this is never used. This code that you have up here, it's great, but it's never actually implemented. Okay, you have to go down here into your touched area, and you need to get rid of that, the canvas touched, the radius set to 5. That can be sent to the garbage pail. And what should be put in there? You need to put in the get block from the variables. And what are you getting? You are getting the global dot size. Okay, so my program just died. It died. And it's still broadcasting. Cool. My screen died for a second. Sorry about that. Oh, it crashed. Crash report. Restart Firefox. Restore. Dun, dun, dun. I'm hoping this is still working. All right, there we go, cat. Ooh. Such is life. I think I was zoomed in too far on my, what's this thing called? On my browser. I've got too many windows open on my browser, I should say. I'm going to close some of these win to the O's. Yeah. Kalina Carter. All right. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. That I need. This one, just in case. All right. Let's get back to App Inventor. The blocks. My build is probably dead now. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So you can see now that it's actually working. Yay. I hope I'm still broadcasting. Otherwise, I'm talking to no one. I would figure if I'm not broadcasting, Mr. Edward, phone me. All right. So I'm going to zoom out a bit here. So we've got this idea. We've created a variable, and we're starting to use this variable so that when the user is clicking plus, we're going to add 1 to the variable. When they hit minus, we're going to minus 1 to the variable. Don't worry if you're super confused or stressed out right now of like, oh my goodness, I couldn't figure that out on my own. Don't worry. You're going to do this again and again and again until the end of the year, as I mentioned before. This is a standard idea in programming, okay? But we do, and back again, we do need to understand the idea of a variable. So the easiest way to teach you about variables is to show you this and tell you that this, ladies and gentlemen, this Tupperware container is a variable. I'm going to write variable on it. This is a variable. Oh, it's backwards. Oh, I'm not going to do the whole mirror thing because no, we ain't going there. Okay? But trust me, it says variable in this bad webcam thing. All right. So, okay, how is this a variable? A variable is simply, in computers, is a box, a place of storage, okay? And what you've done is you've told the computer, hey, go into memory. Remember, we've learned what memory is. Go into RAM, okay? Or in our smartphone, your smartphone has RAM as well, because remember, smartphone's a computer. We've learned about all this. Go into memory and take a section of memory, okay? Reserve that section of memory, okay? Like a box, Okay, so think of this as a section inside memory, and it's a certain size, and it can hold things. Okay, we've called our variable dot size. So what we've done is we've actually said, hey, smartphone, go into your memory in your RAM, and I want you to put a little section of your RAM, and I want you to call it dot size. That's what we've done. We've told RAM, hey, there's a section in RAM I want that says dot size. There, you can read it backwards. It says is it whatever. Okay, so that's dot size. Okay, so you've told the computer, hey, go into RAM, make a section of RAM called dot size. Anytime I use the word dot size, me the programmer, I'm referring to this box inside memory. We can have as many boxes as we want, okay? But whenever I say dot size, go to this green container called dot size and do something to the information inside. It could be simply put an integer, int, integer, put an integer inside that box. An integer of 5. Remember, an integer is a whole number. So put an integer of 5 inside there, right? Yay, we've got an integer inside the box. Great, okay? Int. That's kind of back. Anyways, so that's what we've done in our program. We've said, hey, I've got an area of my memory inside the RAM, okay, of our smartphone. Call it dot size. Anytime in my programming or in the program, when it refers to dot size, I'm referring to this box here. So that's what a variable is. In all of programming, it's a named part of RAM. We've basically told the computer, go into your RAM, and I want you to segment that little section over there, and I want you to call it whatever name you call it. In this case, we called it dot size. Okay? And then I want you to put stuff in it. And, or maybe I want to change the value in there. So our program says, every time someone clicks on the button plus, I want you to go into dot size, go in there, take the value that's inside dot size, and I want you to add one more to it. So I'm literally, okay, we'll do it like this. I literally am saying plus 1, okay, plus 1. So I've added plus 1 into the variable, okay? So now my variable inside here is the original dot size plus 1, okay? And let's say I click it again. I've basically made an event that says add 1 plus 1, and I've gone inside that variable again, and I've added the plus 1. Okay, and what we've done in our event handler, let's go back to our code. Okay, in our event handler for the canvas, okay, when we say get global dot size, what that means is basically go into that variable, that green box, and get me whatever inside it. Show me. That's why it's called the getter block. The blocks we used before called the setter block, that's like adding things inside. Set it. Give it a new value inside that block. Okay? So when we are doing the canvas touched event, we're saying go inside the event, okay, get me global dot size. So it opens up in RAM, it goes in and goes, where's dot size? Oh, there it is. What's inside dot size? Well, we've got int, which was the original int, which is 5, and plus 1, and plus another 1. So 5 plus 1 is 7. Make it 7. Make the dot size 7, sir. Okay, that's what it's saying to the operating system. And it's doing the same thing when you're doing minus. Okay, instead of adding pluses, we're adding -1. Okay, so every time we click on minus, okay, we're going -1. Okay, all that happens in a split second. Okay, we'll learn a lot more about variables in programming this year, but that's the basic concept you got to get across. Okay, it's up there in importance with if-then, abstraction, and variables. You're going to use them all the time in programming. Okay, so we've done that. Yay! And now you've got some, well, according to my clock, which when you hear this will be a little later, So I'm not going to do the math, but you've got like, what, 20 minutes left before lunch? Oh, I'm so hungry. What are you having for lunch? You know what I'm going to have for lunch? Since I'm home, I'm going to order like maybe a steak and I don't know, some blue cheese on the steak, and I'll have little mashed potatoes on the side with some gravy. And since Mina is sick, I'll just make her eat vegetables and rice, and then I'll just eat meat. No, okay, sorry. All right, the next step of our class today. Whew, you need a break yet? I do. Here's what I want you to do. We'll take a quick minute mind-breaking fun thing, okay? To let you know, today is the last day you're going to be sitting with that beautiful face next to you. Oh. Tomorrow, you're going to have a new face sitting next to you. Yes, you're all getting new seats tomorrow. Woohoo. Or sad, okay? So I want you to think about what has been the best thing about having that individual sitting next to you being, okay? So you've had this partner now next to you for the last, since beginning of school. So it's really been 8 weeks, okay? Give or take that first week. So about seven weeks, okay? So you've had this individual sitting next to you. You've talked to them, you've high-fived them, you've told them that their brilliance melts your face off. So I want you to think of just one thing. Why are you inviting me to draw the app, Abdu? Okay. Yeah, the video is horrible. That's okay. Deal with it. My face is so beautiful, it just shines through. Okay. Let's get back on track. Abdu, stop chatting with me. I want you to think of your elbow partner, and I want you to think of just one thing that has been the most important or best, greatest development of having them being your partner. What has been the best thing about being their partner? Okay. I want you to go first. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to think about this, and then you're just going to tell your B, you've been a good partner because blah, blah, blah. Then it's B's turn. You've been a good partner because blah, blah, blah. Okay? So 15 seconds of think time begins now. Greatest development of having them being your partner. What would be the best thing about being their partner? Okay. I want you to go first. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to think about this, and then you're just going to tell your B. Abdu, why are you trying to chat with me? Because blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, wait, what? Really? Oh.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So, all right, time is up. Up is the time. A's, go ahead. Tell your partner, you've been a good partner because. Should have switched by now. If you haven't, finish your sentence, switch it up. B's, you are a good partner because. All right. Thank you. Give them a high five. Tell them you'll miss them. I'll miss you. All right. You're almost there. You're almost there. Okay. So The next thing we have to do, if some of you noticed already, and probably a lot of you did, on your program, when you're actually running the app, what is not happening to your app? That's right. In the middle here where it says dot size 5, that's not changing. That's not updating in real time of what is the current dot size, okay? Yeah, we figured out how to get our dot size by changing the values of our variable to be, bigger and smaller and all that, okay? We've changed that. However, the text in the middle here doesn't update to account for that new value. So we need to program for that. Of course we do. Okay, how are we going to do that? I don't know. I just don't know. Okay, this one is a little tricky. Notice there's silence. Why? Figure it out. Okay, I'm going to give you the next 5 minutes to try to figure out this problem of how do you get when the user is clicking on those buttons. How do you get it so that when the user is clicking plus and minus here, the text that is written here is going to update to say, if I hit +1, it's going to say dot size equals 6. If I hit it again, it'll say it'll update right away and say dot size equals 7. Okay. How do we do that? We're dealing with text. How do we get that text to show up for the current dot size? I'll give you a hint. It's something to deal with text. 4 minutes now.
Oh yeah, by the way, Tony asked me to invite him to chat.
You got 1 minute left. Oh, that just didn't work. All right, let's get to it. Let's get. All right, so we are simply going to be continuing to work with some of our existing buttons already, okay? What we're going to be working with is we're going to continue to work with our plus button and minus button. What we're going to do, we're dealing with text. So when the plus button is clicked, set the global dot size to global dot size +1. Okay, we figured out what this means. We also are going to use this to change the text that is appearing inside the label to say dot size is now 7 or 8. So again, we got to think about what component are we playing with here. We're dealing with the dot size label, right? So you're going to click on the dot size label, and we could go through this whole list. We don't need to. We just need to drag out one of the blocks and then just change set dot size label, not background. We're just going to change its text. I'm going to rearrange this. Okay, we're going to change its text. What are we going to have it say? We're going to have it say dot size. Is dot size ever changing? No, it's always saying dot size equal. The thing that's actually changing is the number 5. So we've got to take this one sentence and actually go deeper and actually think of it. It's actually made up of two things. It's made up of the text dot size equals, and it's made up of a value of 5. Okay? So in our text, we're going to use this block here, join. And we're going to join together text and something else. So what are we joining? Our text should say dot size, and this one you have to make sure that it matches what you wrote originally. So dot size space equals, and important, put a space after it because the number is going to, there should be a space in there, right? So it should say dot size equals, okay, with proper spacing and formatting. And after that, it should say blah, blah, blah. What? It should say the value that is inside dot size, the variable dot size. We're going to go back to dot size, and we're going to get the dot size variable. Okay, so this says set the global dot, the dot size label, the text that's inside it. That's the property we're changing, the text property. Set it to what? We're going to join text together. We're going to join dot size equals plus that second thing, which is the value inside the global variable. Okay, and now if this updates, which it is not, why are you not updating? This is my plus button. I think my system has crashed. Why are you not showing me the correct answer? Dot size label. I'm going to restart this. Reset connection. This is the answer. This is what it should do. And then you simply duplicate that and add it into your other button. So it doesn't matter what button it's in. It's always going to change the dot size text to say dot side equals global dot size. Once you've done that, run your emulator. It should work. It should work, and that's it for the lesson. The next thing you have to figure out, though, I'm not going to be teaching you anymore. The next thing you got to figure out is the bug that happens. We've got a serious problem with our program with a bug, okay, an error that's happening. What happens if you keep hitting minus? Eventually, it's going to get to 0 and go -1, -2, -3, -4, which means no dots showing up, because how can you draw with a -1 dot? Okay? That's a bug in our program that we got to fix. We got to get it so that it'll never go smaller than 1. That's your mission. That's what you got to fix, is this debugging of once it reaches a certain number, and our number is 1, it should not go down to 0. It should stay at 1. Okay? We can go up to whatever number we want, but it should always stay at 1. Okay? So that's the lesson. Because of this time delay of like 30 seconds and all this other stuff, we should finish around a few minutes early. I want to thank you for being patient with this. Thank you for trying this out. I hope you have a good lunch. I hope it's going to be as good as my steak that I'm going to have. And, oh, actually, what I'll do is Mina's going to come in, because while we've been working, Mina has been drawing a wonderful picture of a school bus. So here is Mina's school bus that she wrote. And there's some Korean that's backwards, and that says, what does that say? Oma, Appa.
사랑해요.
Oh, I love you, Mom and Dad, and I love you too. Mwah. Yeah, say hello, Mina.
Hello.
Yeah, stop eating your hair. Okay, time to go.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Hope you have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll figure out this bug together.
Let's go.
All right. Yeah, now my app is working. All right. Thanks, Mr. Edward. Thanks, Abdu. All right. Oh, this one's in real time? Woo! Thank you for the chat, Abdu. For some reason, this one is actually in real time as opposed to the projector, probably caused by the chat and that it is a stream. As a stream of what? Consciousness? Sorry. All right. That's it. Fix that bug. And tomorrow, we'll go over it together. Have a good one. Peace, love, recycle. Mr. M is out.